Welcome to the Knitting Samurai and Her Guys video podcast. I'm your host, Steph, also known as the Knitting Samurai, and this is episode 120. I don't want to talk about it. Did you hear me? I almost went into my whiny voice. I was right on the cusp of it because I really don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to. But it's been almost 2 weeks since we last spoke because I don't want to talk about it. So let's hurry up and get through the painful part, and then we'll move on to more exciting things to discuss. How's that sound? So I am alluding to the Stoker by Isolde Teague. I was knitting it with Brenton Heathers by Patternworks. Here's the sweater, the 18-month sized one that I knit for Roland that I've been referencing for quite a while, or several weeks now, right? So this was an Elizabeth Zimmerman pullover pattern. I think I buttoned it crooked right there. Anyways, so I had great luck with the baby version. I had less luck trying to use this yarn to knit an Aran weight sweater for myself. And so there's the sweater that Tristan will soon be wearing. Roland has outgrown it, but that was the version I knit for Ro. The version, the Stoker, that I was working on for me, that I did marathon knitting sessions on. That was my one travel project, as I spoke about in the last episode, if you saw it. Great pattern, no fault of the pattern whatsoever. My thought of, I don't know what I thought, not gauged watching, knitting in the round, using the size smaller needles than the pattern called for, and a DK weight yarn, added up to a sweater that was 8 inches too small, 7 or 8 inches too small in circumference. I'll give you a minute. I know I can hear you. You are all feeling my pain right now. So I had a good 10 inches knit on the body of the sweater. I had one sleeve completely finished. Well, not completely, about up to here. And I tried it on when I got home, put it on 2 sets of needles, tried it on, and said, oh no, this isn't gonna work. No amount of locking is gonna work on this, or steeking. I mean, if I steeked it, I would have to add 4 inches to both front panels. So granted, no, I'm not gonna. My brain, I am the type of person that you give me a problem, I'm gonna figure it out and solve it. So you can't just tell me about your day and what happened. I need to help you work through it and figure it out and how to handle things. So this sweater has been a real challenge for me, a real stumbling block for the last, I want to say for about 8 or 9 days after I got home. I was just so disappointed that it didn't work out and couldn't figure out how to fix it and how to make it work. And as I said, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to think about it. I just put it in the closet. Like, I didn't want it out, put the project bag in the closet and walked away. I started another project that I thought would cheer me up. It didn't really cheer me up. It was a fun filler in my knitting, but I've been so sad about this sweater. So you'll remember I was on a high from having completed 2 sweaters in 2 months and loving that second one, and the first one being a great utilitarian piece, or a great, very functional piece, not one that I really love the look of it, but it will be very useful for me. So yeah, I'm in pain. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bring you down and share that with you, right? Because you don't come to talk with me about my knitting mishaps, but I definitely had a big whoops. So it's in the closet. I haven't ripped it out yet. I will be ripping it out unless one of you has a brilliant idea how to save this thing. Yeah, there are pictures on my project page of the sweater, not me in the sweater, because no one should see that. So there's that. I'm considering it done frog. Well, not quite frog, but almost frogged. End of that story. I'm a gambler and I lost. I also frogged the caution mitts that I had started, just because I want to keep working on picking down, cutting down, paring down the number of whoops I have. So that was one that I knew I wasn't going to finish, so I just frogged it. And then I alluded to something new and exciting. So barn raising quilts are all the rage, right? Everybody you know is knitting one, and there's a new one that's hexagon shapes that looks really fun too. I queued that up when I saw it last week or 2 weeks ago. But I set out to knit with a memory blanket with mine barn raising quilt that I cast on last July. And so knitting a square from each skein of sock yarn, pair of socks that I knit. So there would be memories of who it was for or what I knit that project, because some were sweaters and hats and other things, but self-striping yarn that I had already knit the skein. So it was basically a memory scraps barn raising quilt. That's great. I have really enjoyed working on it, but again, I reached the end of what I had for scraps, and I don't knit socks fast enough to keep up with my desire to knit barn raising quilt squares. So I decided, it's official, I have officially cast on a new barn raising quilt, a second one, and it's riding in this lovely fat squirrel bag, and it matches this fat squirrel bag. So I thought it'd be fun to knit each of the boys one. I think I mentioned this before because I've been sort of spinning this around in my head for a while. So I took, I went to my stash and pulled out full skeins. I pulled out 3 different colors that I have multiples of, or very similar colors. Yeah, like those are 2 different skeins, but very similar. What a surprise, it's teal. Very similar, so to me they're going to count as one color. So the blanket's going to be 3 colors, 10 squares of 3 colors for 30 squares, and I'm either going to make it a 35 by 42 inch blanket or a 28 by 49 inch blanket, so 5 by 6 or 4 by 7 squares. So, and I'm using a solid, what I consider a self-striping, and a variegated. That was my initial plan, right? And I planned it all out, and I went in Excel and I did the color sequencing I wanted to use, and I pulled out this skein of, what is this? Hold on, it's coming. Opal Sock Rainforest. I think it's Rainforest 6. It's one of the older Rainforests. I got it in July 2010, and it is my most precious skein. If I throw back or borrow from Malia on the yarn raising podcast, this would be one of the 3 most precious skeins in my stash. And I thought, who better to use it for than my baby T? So I'm gonna make this blanket for Tristan, this first one. There will be more, I know it. They're so addicting, those squares. And I cast this on. Well, it turns out that while I do love this bright teal color, it's kind of hard to match. So I pulled out some Into the World I had and thought that these would be close, and who knows, I hope the colors are good, but unless it actually has the teal in it, it doesn't look so great next to it. So I'm kind of at a loss as to what to do. Oh, okay, wait, let me back up. So here's what it looks like knit up, right? Glorious. But then when I put it next to a square that I think would work, it doesn't work, right? In the skein, this looked like it was gonna match, but it doesn't. And in the skein, this also looked like it was gonna match, but it doesn't. So I feel like my eyes are tricking me. This looked like it was gonna match, and it does, right? So those are my self-striping and my solid, check done, figured out. But I only have 1 skein of this, and I don't like what I've knit, the 2 variegateds I've knit, so I'm question mark on the variegated at this point. Definitely a go on my solids choice. So I have 3 completed squares of the solid, and the solid is Cherry Tree Hill, some leftover from a baby hat I knit from Merland, but the baby hat didn't take up much. Cherry Tree Hill, and then this one is, I'm thinking this is the Fiber Nymph in the Bounce Base. Or maybe it's Happy Feet, I'm not sure. I have a lot of semi-solid skeins that are this color, so that should be no problem to get 10 squares out of that. So then I went back to my opal stash, and I thought this color, because it had the bright teal and it has a yellow, would be similar, and I could call these 2, you know, offset them and call them the same color in my mind, right? Use them both as my solid square, as my self-striping squares. Is this making any sense? So I wanted a semi-solid, a variegated, and a striping in this blanket. 3 different types of squares, close to the same color, so it didn't look like a mixed matched quilt. I wanted scraps. I didn't want it to look like that. I wanted it to look like an intentioned, you know, 3 sets of colors. These are very different. very different. While this one is beautiful, this one is a little prince. And I thought the section right here where my finger is, that yellow brown section, brown purple, was hideous while I was knitting it. I think it turned out okay in the finished product of the square. And they both do have that same bright teal color, but the overall effect I think is too different. So then I went back and I was like, okay, I need a teal yellow yarn, because that's essentially what this is. So I pulled out a skein of, so then here's the skein of white birch next to the opal. To my eye, those don't read similar enough. This is a nightmare because they look great next to each other, or they look okay next to each other in the skeins, but then when you knit things up, they don't, like, I don't know what's going on. That everything is just looking a little bit off to my eye. I don't know. So then I go back to, okay, I think this is the right combo to go with. That those are, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep knitting squares. I'm gonna keep knitting these two, and I might use this one because it's absolutely gorgeous, that color. I love the way there's a stripe sequence within the stripes, sort of, you know? It's like bright teal, light teal, bright teal, bright yellow, bright yellow, bright light, bright. It looks really pretty, and the yarn is super squishy and lovely to knit, and I would like to put this all along the edge of the blanket. And then I did order, I don't have it with me, a new skein of opal. That's a rust color, and the webs had it listed as red and dark teal, and I thought, I bet they would consider this color, this in-between color, as a dark teal. So I got it, and yes, to hold it up, it looks great next to this. How it would look in a blanket square, I don't know. So at this point, I'm thinking hold with this, and then maybe do the red dark teal for the third color. So do 2 stripings and 1 solid. Get another skein of that rust. If you know anybody that has a skein of this, it's called Merland, that they don't want, I would gladly take it off their hands. I PM'd a few people on Ravelry, but I haven't heard back, because I would much rather do 2 skeins of this, do 10 squares of this, 10 squares of this, and then 10 squares of something else. But I haven't heard back from the people I PM'd on Rav, and having, letting your precious yarn sit for 5 years is not exactly the greatest way to ensure you have enough to knit with when it's time to knit. So I don't suggest hoarding your special skein. Knit with it, knit with it, knit with it, knit with it while you love it before you don't love it, or it's all gone and you can't get any more. So there's my barn raising so far. What is that, 6? I knit 8 squares, but I'm not going to use 2 of them. Although maybe this, because like this one looks pretty good next to that one. And it definitely goes with this one. I could spend all day going through this with you. So I won't bore you with barn raising squares too much more, but just to say, I'm working on them. I will figure this out. So that is was supposed to be my happy sunshine project, but I've also been crazy week at work. So this past week is line close. So in the retail industry, right, you get to a point in the season where you say, all right, this is what we're gonna buy, this is what we're gonna sell in the stores for spring 16 is what we're working on, and we call that line close. And we close the line and there's nothing added or taken away after that, if we can help. And so that was this past week. So that's what I made my trip to London for, actually. If you have been with me for a while, pre-Tristan, yeah, I went to London for a week and did this over there, and this time they came to us, so we did it here. And so those are 10-hour days, easy, and it's straight ahead working. It's don't message me on my phone, I will not respond to you, don't, just straight ahead. So that was this past week. So I got home pretty burnt out most nights and didn't really have motivation to knit, so I'm kind of putting my sadness, disappointment, I'll put some of that in the hands of, it was line close and I was really busy at work. So it's not just that I'm not excited about what I'm knitting, it's haven't had a lot of time. But it's exciting to have a new project on the needles, and because it's Friday, last night I got home and I had ordered some yarn. Okay, wait, let me backtrack. So Monday night I got home, I was fried, completely fried. The day was so long, so many, you know why I say it's long? Because you're making decisions all day long. You're evaluating one color versus another, one style versus another. Is a guy gonna buy a 2-pocket jacket or a 4-pocket jacket? If he buys the 4-pocket jacket, does he want it to have a drawstring at the waist? Does he want it to have a hood? Does he want it to have side entry pockets, top entry pockets? What material should it be made out of? Like, you know, people bring their suggestions, but we sit there and then we argue amongst ourselves. They're a team of people that work on that apparel, and so it's very tiring to do that all day long. So Monday night I got home, we made it through, boys in bed. I laid on the floor with my computer in front of me. If you were in any of the discussion boards I'm on or groups I'm in on Rav, you'll see I responded to everything Monday night because I couldn't think, I couldn't knit, I just played on my computer. I ordered some clothes, because that's what happens. You look at all the new clothes and then you get expired and then you have to go shopping. But I ordered some new stuff and then I went to Webb's, and I don't remember who it was, but someone on the boards, and I really appreciate it, so thank you so much, said, stop belly aching. She said it nicely. Stop belly aching about your sad stoker and move on to dreaming about possibilities for the next sweater, and think about that. And it was great. It was totally like the mom's advice. Like the kid comes home and it's like, my friends don't like me, and mom's like, your friends don't really matter. Go do what makes you happy, or whatever. So what makes me happy and motivated me was the 2010 cardigan by Vera Rockamelli, and I'm not giving anything away. Asymmetrical, short sleeve, bulky weight yarn. I figured it would be a pretty quick knit, and so it was near the top of my queue. I shoved it up to the top and I started going through my stash looking for what I could work on. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything in my stash, so I had to place an order with Webb's. And it came on Thursday night. I ordered it Monday around 10 o'clock, and Thursday by 5 p.m. it was at my door. Great service. So I ended up choosing Northampton Bulky, which is Valley Yarns, their house brand of yarn, in the fawn colorway. The pattern is this gorgeous mustard color, and I think most of the sweaters were mustard or chartreuse, the finished projects, or a lot of them were, which I was so drawn to. And I had spent the day with gold, not chartreuse, but gold as a color, and so it was kind of funny to be looking at a gold sweater, and I wanted gold, but I don't wear gold, and so my brain got around to buy a color you would like to have, a basic staple color, and I went back and forth between gray, chestnut brown, like a charcoal gray, chestnut brown, and this beautiful light brown fawn color, and I ended up with a fawn. But you know what? I was shopping. It was kind of late. I was comparing yarns, and I'm pretty sure this isn't superwash. But how many of your sweaters do you throw in the washing machine? Honestly, I don't. Or if I do, it's like a gentle soak, spin, lay them out. Like, don't even fully spin them, because I don't want creases. So you are here at the very beginning of this project. So I cast on last night after the boys went to bed, and I was tired. So I didn't get more than the cast on row and the first row of stitches. But here you go. You're here at the ground level at the very start of Stephanie's 2010 cardigan. Aren't you lucky? Not a lot of people will be able to say they were here today at the very beginning. Oh my goodness, silliness. So that's on the needles. It's Friday, which is, I started all of this roundabout to say, because Fridays I usually get a bit more knitting time, lunch and afternoon knitting and whatnot. So I should make some good progress on this over the weekend. We are heading up to my in-laws tomorrow, and that's 6 hours of knitting time, baby, in the car, if I can stay awake. But I should be okay. No more decisions to make. Tonight it's just me and the little guys. Steve has a team running thing to go to, and I think We might watch some Paw Patrol. Is that big with you? With your little ones? Oh my goodness. I don't know how we survived for so long without it. Not without it, but unaware of it. And now it has invaded my life, this Paw Patrol. Oh, and before anyone asks, this is store-bought, but this is the Arbutus. Jane Richmond designed this pattern, and it's in the Owl Island collection. This is great 3-layer tiered cowl. So I used fingering weight held double on it. I think this is Cloud Lover or Knitting in Color. I don't remember which one. Maybe Knitting in Color. Held double on this. So that's what I'm wearing today. So I hope you are feeling more motivated than I am. You know. What else? What's new? What's up and coming? There is a great indie dyer. Her name is Susan, and she runs a Riot of Color. She's doing I saw her at Stitches East, and she's currently doing a Kickstarter until March 28th, which is her birthday. So happy birthday, it's a week from now. So between now and then, if you want to go over to Kickstarter and check her out, that would be awesome. Help her out a little bit. She's trying to raise money. I think she said to buy a van and some of the, just so she could bring more product when she goes places, which is always good. You like a full booth. So some of the rewards for the Kickstarter include exclusive colorways, exclusive sock patterns, and colorways named in someone's honor, in your honor, if you purchase at that level, as well as a private knitting retreat for you and 5 friends, which I think sounds pretty awesome. If you want to go sign up, and I could be one of your 5 friends. So check it out. A Riot of Color Hits the Road is the name of her Kickstarter. And then what else? What have I been watching? I've been watching The Paradise. I think I mentioned it. It's BBC. It competes with Mr. Selfridge or The Selfridge, but I prefer the BBC version, although today when I did the show notes, I read a little bit online about it, and apparently it was canceled because Mr. Selfridge won out, which I don't like Jeremy Pippin, whatever his name is. I just don't like watching him. So I watched a couple episodes of Mr. Selfridge, or whatever it's called, walked away and said, oh, look at this Paradise show by the BBC. They've got my number. It's really good. I'm through season 1. I'm like 3 episodes into season 2, and I found out that there are only 2 seasons. So now I'm not watching it so fast. I'm gonna slow down a little bit, but it's a great show. It's similar to the exploring class structure that you find like in Downton Abbey. Is the obvious comparison there, but it's different in that it has 3 levels. So there's the serving the shop girls, there's the merchant class, so the shop owner, and then the aristocrats. So it's a different dynamic to have 3 layers of class. And then the other thing I've been watching, Netflix told me I should watch it, and I said, and I watched the first one, and I said, and now I'm completely addicted. Can't stop watching it. It's like Law and Order without the order, set in the 1920s or 30s. I think it's the 20s. She looks like a flapper to me. And that is Miss Fisher's Murder Mystery. So Franny, I can't even say the main character's name, but I really like the show. And the episodes are really long. They're like 55 minutes. So settle in. Be ready for a long, good show with lots of twists and turns. It's well done. I'm enjoying it. The first episode kind of threw me for a loop because it had lots of topics, controversial topics that I didn't think would be so mainstream in the 1920s. So if you watched it, you know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to mention those topics on here just in case little ears are listening. But so the first episode confused me, but after that it makes sense. And I talked about it with Steve, just some of the drug use that they show in the show, and you know, Coca-Cola was made from something else before, different content than what we know it as today. So things were different. And that is what I've been watching. And I think It's a short show. Sorry, ladies. I think I perked up as I went along, right? Well, now I'm knitting, so I got those good delta brain waves going. I'm in my zone. I'm happy. I could just sit here and talk to you all day. Oh, boy. Oh, I know it. So, I'm going to leave you there with me, with deep sighs, and hoping you have a great 10 days or so. It probably won't be 10 days. It'll probably be next Friday because I like to get 3 podcasts out a month. That's my goal. Hence the every 10 days, but sometimes less. I took a big break here in the middle of March, so hopefully I can pick it back up. So, if you would like to watch more episodes or see the back history or see the London trip, it's called London Calling was the name of the episode, because I like to name things after songs. You could do that at the blog, which is Knitting Samurai and Her Guys.blogspot.com, or on Blip, all back episodes of everything. Expectant Knitter, Knitting Samurai +1, Knitting Samurai and Her Guys. They're all over there on Blip. You can see them all. Or on the WordPress blog. So, Knitting Samurai and Her Guys.wordpress.com. So, that's where to find me. Oh, and I'm in iTunes, but not everything's in iTunes. So, there you go. Someday I'll figure out YouTube. I don't know. Is it a lot of work to get on YouTube? I feel like I load into two different places right now. What's one more? So, I hope you have a great 10 days or so and enjoy what's going on with your knitting and weather and spring, and here it comes. All right, take care. Bye.
You eating some Cheerios? Should we sing? Look at all those old catfishes doing say hello. Catfishes doing say hello. Hello, Tristan. Yeah. Yeah, you happy? You got some happy feet. Can you give me a no? Yum. Good job, Cubby. Good job. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Can you sit?